My restaurant competitor poisoned my food to destroy my business. I'm retired chemist who sent him to prison for 15 years. My restaurant competitor was poisoning my food with laxatives and making customers violently ill. For 6 months, health inspectors found nothing. Customers got sick. Reviews crashed. My 40-year family restaurant was dying. He thought I was just an old woman running her late husband's business who didn't understand chemistry. He forgot I spent 41 years as a pharmaceutical chemist specializing in toxicology and drug testing. I'm Dr. Maria Santos, 76 years old. This is the story of how my competitor waged chemical warfare against my restaurant and how I used forensic chemistry to catch him, resulting in his conviction for 38 counts of poisoning and 15 years in federal prison. My husband, Roberto, and I opened Santos Family Restaurant in Little Italy, San Diego in 1981. Traditional Mexican cuisine, family recipes passed down through generations. We built it from nothing into a beloved neighborhood institution. Roberto died in 2018 from pancreatic cancer. After 37 years of marriage and building our business together, I was devastated, but I kept the restaurant running. It's what Roberto would have wanted. Our daughter Sofia managed the front of house. Our son Miguel handled the kitchen. I oversaw everything. We had loyal customers who'd been coming for decades, families who celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, graduations with us. We were part of the community. Then in 2019, a new restaurant opened 3 blocks away. Sabor Latino, sleek, modern, expensive. Owned by a young entrepreneur named Carlos Ruiz, age 38, who'd worked in corporate restaurant management. Carlos was ambitious and ruthless. He wanted to dominate the neighborhood dining scene. Initially, we coexisted fine. Different styles, different price points. Santos was traditional, family style, affordable. Sabor Latino was upscale, trendy, pricey, but Carlos wanted more customers. He started aggressive marketing, undercutting our prices, stealing our staff with higher wages. Business stayed steady for us. Our loyal customers didn't switch to the flashy new place. That's when Carlos got desperate and dangerous. In March 2020, just before COVID lockdowns, we had our first incident. A family of 4 ate dinner at Santos. 2 hours later, all 4 were violently ill. Severe diarrhea, vomiting, stomach cramps. They went to the emergency room. The hospital reported possible food poisoning to the health department. Inspectors showed up the next day. They inspected our kitchen, top to bottom, food temperatures, storage, cleanliness, preparation practices. Everything was perfect. We passed with 0 violations. Mrs. Santos, we found nothing wrong. The family probably had a stomach virus unrelated to your restaurant. But 2 weeks later, it happened again. A couple got severely ill after eating at Santos. Same symptoms. Violent gastrointestinal distress within 2 hours. Another health inspection. Again, nothing found. Then it kept happening. Every week or 2, customers would report getting sick. Always severe diarrhea and vomiting. Always within hours of eating at Santos. By July 2020, we'd had 16 reported incidents. Our online reviews were collapsing. Do not eat here. Got violently sick. Worst food poisoning of my life. Spent the night in the emergency room after eating here. Our reputation was being destroyed. Business dropped 40%. Health inspectors came 7 times. They found nothing. Our food handling was impeccable. No violations. No contamination. No explanation for why customers were getting sick. I was desperate, confused, terrified we'd have to close. Then one night in August 2020, I was reviewing security footage from our restaurant. We'd installed cameras after some equipment went missing. I watched footage from 2 days earlier, a busy Saturday night. I saw our servers taking food to tables, customers eating, everything normal. Then I noticed something odd. A man in a baseball cap entered through our back door at 7:15 p.m. He walked quickly through the kitchen toward the dining area. None of our staff stopped him. It was chaos during dinner rush. He approached a table where a family was seated. Their food had just arrived. While they were distracted looking at menus, the man pulled something from his pocket, a small bottle and quickly squeezed liquid onto their plates. Then he left. The whole thing took 15 seconds. I watched the family eat. They seemed fine during dinner, but I knew. 2 hours later, that family went to the emergency room with severe food poisoning. I'd spoken to them myself. Someone was deliberately contaminating our food. I reviewed more footage, going back 6 months, checking every night. We'd had a sickness report. In 11 incidents, I found the same pattern. A man in a cap entering through our back door, quickly contaminating food, leaving immediately. Always during busy periods. Always quick. Always careful to avoid staff. But in 3 incidents, he turned toward the camera for a split second. I zoomed in, enhanced the image. Carlos Ruiz, my competitor. Carlos was sneaking into my restaurant and poisoning customers' food. I felt sick. This wasn't business competition. This was criminal. But I needed to know what he was using, and I needed proof that would stand up in court. I'm Dr. Maria Santos. Before Roberto and I opened the restaurant, I spent 41 years as a pharmaceutical chemist. I worked in drug development, toxicology testing, and forensic analysis. I knew how to identify chemical compounds. I knew how to test for contamination. I knew how to build scientific evidence. I decided to set a trap. First, I needed samples of the contaminated food, but the food was always gone before I knew about the poisoning. Customers finished their meals or they were thrown away. So I created a controlled test. I set up a fake family dinner at the restaurant. I hired 4 actors to pose as a family. They'd order food, eat visibly, but secretly preserve samples of everything they were served. I stationed Miguel at the back door with instructions. If anyone unauthorized enters, let them pass, but document everything. On Saturday, August 22nd, 2020, we ran the operation. The family arrived at 7 p.m., ordered appetizers, entrees, desserts, ate enthusiastically, talked loudly, acted like typical customers. At 7:40 p.m., Miguel texted me. Man in cap just entered through back door. I watched on my phone via security cameras. Carlos Ruiz walked through our kitchen, approached the family's table, and contaminated their food while they were distracted, looking at their phones. He left immediately. The family continued eating, but carefully preserved samples of every contaminated dish in sealed containers I provided. They left, giving me samples of chicken mole, carne asada tacos, rice, beans, salsa, and dessert. I took those samples to my home laboratory. Yes, I maintain a small chemistry lab at home, old habits from 40 years as a chemist. I ran comprehensive tests, gas chromatography, mass spectrometry, chemical analysis. Every sample contained bisacodyl, a powerful laxative medication, high concentrations, enough to cause violent diarrhea and vomiting within 2 hours. Carlos wasn't poisoning food with bacteria or contamination. He was chemically dosing it with pharmaceutical laxatives. That's why health inspectors found nothing. They tested for foodborne pathogens, bacteria, viruses, toxins. They never tested for pharmaceutical drugs. Carlos was committing intentional poisoning with a controlled substance. This wasn't just sabotage. This was assault, potentially dozens of counts. I needed more evidence. I needed to catch Carlos in the act with witnesses and documentation that would be irrefutable in court. I contacted the San Diego Police Department. I asked for a detective. Detective James Torres met with me. I showed him security footage of Carlos contaminating food, 11 separate incidents, chemical analysis proving laxative contamination, medical records of 38 customers who got sick after eating at Santos Timeline, correlating Carlos's visits with sickness reports. Detective Torres was stunned. Dr. Santos, this is attempted murder, or at minimum, aggravated assault. Multiple counts. We need to catch him doing this. We set up a sting operation. On September 5th, 2020, we arranged another fake family dinner, but this time, undercover police officers posed as customers throughout the restaurant. Detective Torres was in the kitchen, hidden behind equipment. At 7:35 p.m., Carlos entered through the back door, just like before. He walked toward the fake family's table, pulled out a bottle, and squeezed liquid onto their food. Detective Torres stepped out. "Police! Freeze!" Carlos ran. He made it to the back door before 3 officers tackled him. In Carlos's pocket, a bottle of liquid bisacodyl laxative. He was arrested on the spot. The bottle was tested, confirmed bisacodyl. Fingerprints on the bottle matched Carlos Ruiz. Police searched Carlos's restaurant and home. They found 14 bottles of bisacodyl laxative, a notebook detailing dates, times, and methods for contaminating Santos's food, printed copies of Santos's negative reviews, financial projections showing increased revenue from Santos' decline. Carlos had been systematically poisoning my customers for 6 months, documenting his crimes and calculating his financial benefit from destroying my business. He'd poisoned at least 38 customers. Some were hospitalized. One elderly customer developed severe dehydration requiring intravenous fluids. The DA filed charges in October 2020, 38 counts of poisoning, 1 for each victim, 38 counts of aggravated assault, criminal conspiracy attempted murder for the elderly victim who required hospitalization, racketeering, using criminal enterprise for business advantage, violation of FDA regulations, misuse of pharmaceutical drugs. Federal charges were added because Carlos's actions violated food safety laws under FDA jurisdiction. Total 89 criminal counts. Mixture of state and federal charges. Carlos's attorney tried to minimize it. "Your Honor, my client used laxatives, not poison. No one died. This is business sabotage, not attempted murder." The prosecutor destroyed that argument. Mr. Ruiz deliberately introduced pharmaceutical drugs into food consumed by unsuspecting victims. 38 people were poisoned. Many required emergency medical treatment. One elderly victim nearly died from dehydration. This is systematic poisoning for financial gain. These are serious felonies. Carlos tried to claim he was desperate because Santos was unfairly dominating the market. The prosecutor had a field day with that. Mr. Ruiz's restaurant was doing fine. He was angry that Santos Family Restaurant, a 40-year institution, wouldn't go out of business just because he wanted their customers. So he poisoned people. He endangered lives. He committed chemical warfare against innocent diners to destroy a competitor. The trial began in March 2021. I testified as both victim and expert witness. Dr. Santos, please describe your background. I have a PhD in pharmaceutical chemistry. I worked 41 years in drug development and toxicology. I specialized in identifying chemical compounds and their effects on the human body. And you analyzed the contaminated food from your restaurant? Yes. Using gas chromatography mass spectrometry, I identified bisacodyl, a stimulant, laxative, in every sample. The concentrations were 5 to 10 times the normal therapeutic dose, enough to cause severe gastrointestinal distress in any person who consumed it. I explained to the jury exactly what Carlos had done, using chemistry terms they could understand. Bisacodyl works by stimulating intestinal muscle contractions. At high doses, it causes violent, uncontrollable diarrhea and vomiting. Mr. Ruiz was essentially weaponizing a pharmaceutical drug to make people violently ill. The prosecution played security footage. 12 different incidents. Carlos sneaking in, contaminating food, leaving. Victims testified. A mother whose 6-year-old daughter was hospitalized for dehydration. A man who got sick during his anniversary dinner. An elderly woman who nearly died. Carlos's notebook was entered into evidence. His own handwriting documenting his poisoning campaign. March 15th, dose table 7, family of 4, check reviews. April 3rd, large party, contaminated 6 plates. Santos reviews should tank. May 12th, elderly couple, heavy dose, ER visit likely. He'd treated poisoning innocent people like a business strategy. The defense tried to argue Carlos had mental health issues and was under business pressure. The prosecution pointed out Carlos had carefully planned each poisoning, avoided detection for months, and documented everything for his own benefit. This wasn't mental illness. This was calculated, premeditated criminal behavior. The jury deliberated for 2 days. Guilty on all 89 counts. Carlos collapsed. His family was crying. His attorney looked defeated, but the sentencing was what really destroyed him. Federal guidelines for poisoning are severe. The judge considered 38 victims. Premeditation and planning, use of chemicals as weapons, endangerment of public safety, financial motive, lack of remorse. Mr. Ruiz, you conducted a 6-month campaign of chemical poisoning against innocent people. You endangered lives. You traumatized families. You nearly killed an elderly woman. You did this purely for business advantage. I'm sentencing you to 15 years in federal prison. You will pay $340,000 in restitution to victims and to Santos Family Restaurant for business losses. Your restaurant is permanently closed. You are permanently banned from food service industry. You will register as a convicted felon. 15 years. Carlos was 39. He'd be 54 when released. His restaurant, Sabor Latino, was immediately shut down. The building was seized. His assets were liquidated. His wife divorced him within months. His reputation was destroyed. He went from successful entrepreneur to convicted poisoner. But the impact on victims was real and lasting. Several customers developed chronic digestive issues from the severe poisoning. One woman developed PTSD and anxiety about eating at restaurants. The elderly woman who nearly died never fully recovered. Her family sued Carlos separately and won $180,000. And my restaurant, Santos Family Restaurant, suffered enormously. Even after Carlos was arrested and convicted, customers were scared. Our business had dropped 60% during the poisoning campaign and took 2 years to recover. We lost approximately $280,000 in revenue. We nearly went bankrupt, but we survived. Carlos's conviction helped. Customers understood what happened. Reviews improved. Trust was rebuilt. Today, Santos Family Restaurant is thriving. We're busier than ever. The community rallied around us after learning we were victims of a criminal conspiracy. I'm 76 now, still running the restaurant, still overseeing everything, and I'm still a chemist. When Carlos was poisoning my customers, I used 41 years of pharmaceutical training to identify the contaminant, build forensic evidence, and help police catch him in the act. Carlos thought I was just an old woman running a family restaurant. Easy target. Wouldn't understand what he was doing. He forgot that old woman had a PhD in pharmaceutical chemistry and decades of toxicology experience. I identified his poison. I documented his crimes. I testified as an expert. I helped send him to prison for 15 years. Some people ask, how did you stay so calm while your business was being destroyed? Because I'm a scientist. I don't panic. I analyze. I test hypotheses. I gather data. I solve problems. Carlos committed 38 counts of poisoning. He endangered lives. He traumatized families. He nearly killed people, all because he wanted to steal customers from a 40-year-old family restaurant. I'm Dr. Maria Santos. I'm 76 years old. My restaurant competitor poisoned my food for 6 months, making 38 customers violently ill, destroying my business and reputation. He thought I was an ignorant old woman who wouldn't figure it out. He forgot I'm a pharmaceutical chemist with 41 years of toxicology experience. I identified his poison. I set traps. I gathered forensic evidence. I caught him red-handed. He got 15 years in federal prison. Lost his business. Lost his family. Lost his freedom. I kept my restaurant. Rebuilt my reputation. Served my community. And proved that a 76-year-old grandmother can still do sophisticated forensic chemistry when someone threatens her family's legacy. Carlos wanted to destroy Santos Family Restaurant with chemical warfare. I destroyed him with science. Justice served. The end. Subscribe for culinary justice.